What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Tanner. Today we're going to talk about my SuperBike Unlimited tune that I have on this guy right here. Stock, this bike makes a really good amount of power. The stock exhaust, honestly, like most stock exhausts on bikes, not all, but most, they sound like sewing machines, and it's, as soon as you put an exhaust on here, it ruins the fueling. Even if you have O2 sensors, they are not able to adjust the fueling like most more advanced computers on, like cars, so to speak. So you really need a tune, whether that's a flash tune, kind of like I did with SuperBike Unlimited, you know, or a dyno tune, which is always going to be best. I want to preface my comments, dyno tuning is always going to be better than a flash tune because each motor is different. So when you're tuning a bike, just because on one engine it tuned and made X amount of power and ran better, you know, with a certain amount of being lean or rich, doesn't mean your engine will as well. So I'll do a whole video on, you know, lean versus rich and kind of which tuning is better for your needs depending on where you are or what you're looking for. I live in Austin and I don't know of any great tuning shops to my knowledge. I could be wrong, but I didn't find anything that I was comfortable with. So I trusted the guys at SuperBike Unlimited to tune this guy. Now on this bike I have, per their recommendation, I put block off plates on it, which I'll do a review on and tell you guys kind of in depth how to do that. The bike comes with titanium headers, and then I have a full exhaust, right? So no cat. The fueling is completely jacked up because of that, right? It ran weird. It's running super lean from the factory because for emission purposes, Yamaha makes these so lean. But yeah, so got the tune on there, and so I was gonna give you a tip, just a little rundown on what SuperBike Unlimited claims on their website. So it's a mail-in service. Obviously, you take the ECU out. On the R1, it's going to be on the clutch side. On your bike, it's going to be probably different. They offer a plethora of options for pretty much every bike, from Yamaha to Ducati, Kawasaki, Honda. They offer pretty much every kind of service you can imagine. So mailed it into them, got it back in about 3-4 days. Pretty quick turnaround time. But so they basically advertise that this is their tune that they use on their own race bikes. Anywhere from 15 to 18 wheel horsepower. They mess with all the throttle mapping and ignition mapping. You know, all your, you know, usual suspects when you're doing a tune. So they remove all throttle-based restrictions, full low power modes, remove all gear and speed-based restrictions, optimize for 91 octane, I run 93 here in Texas. Fuel mapping, power modes, engine braking, closed loop mode, which is going to be your O2 sensors, which I removed per their recommendation. They adjust the radiator fan temp, so on most bikes they don't turn on until around 218, 220, somewhere in there. They run really hot because, again, for emissions purposes, they want the bike to run hotter, burn off more fuel. So they lowered that, so that's great here, especially if you're in a hot climate like I am. It pays dividends, honestly, because it doesn't pull timing on the motor and you make less power when it pulls timing. Adjustable rev limiter, I had them bump it up. I don't go that much higher, but I don't like the fuel cut. I don't like that it just falls on its face. So I opted for that. Disabled the AIS system, they did that. They disabled the exit system, which is the stock exhaust flapper valve. Disabled the fuel cut like I was talking about. And yeah, everything else is, you can load things on top of it. But so that's what they advertised. So what are my thoughts? So it was pretty foolproof, right? Just pull the cover off, send them in, plug it back in, you're good to go. So the bike definitely runs richer. I could definitely tell there's not as many lean spots. The throttle and gear-based restrictions are 100% gone. I can tell you in first and second gear, it was definitely ridiculously fast, but now you can definitely tell there's no like 75–80% full throttle in first and second gear. Like, you have to be very cognizant of how much you're pulling on the throttle, because this bike is an animal now. It is like night and day. So that's great. The fan temps are awesome, like I said. It keeps the bike running way cooler. It's been really cold here. Last year was really cold in Texas. It's been really cold as well here for, you know, comparatively to what Texas usually is hot-wise. So that's been great. The fuel mileage definitely decreased, but I knew that was going to happen because the bike runs from the factory, like I said, so lean. You know, it uses exponentially more fuel now. So you can definitely tell it runs richer, but that's a great thing, right? I'll go over another video why running richer is better than lean for a multitude of reasons, but way better to run rich than lean, which again, we'll touch on later. So everything else, all the errors for the exit system, the O2 sensors, there's no check engine lights, so everything works perfect as it should. Everything they advertise, removing all these things would normally throw a million codes. So I haven't seen any so far. I've put about 500 miles on the bike. Right now I'm like right at 1,000 miles on this bike. I've owned it since October. Haven't ridden it too much just because of the cold. I ride it occasionally. I'm someone, if it's around 45 degrees or higher, 50, I'll ride it. Like honestly, I don't care. Just put on more gear. Yeah, runs great. The idling is still, I wouldn't say it's erratic. It definitely fluctuates a tiny bit, but no more than normal. I thought it would smooth out a little bit. I honestly thought it would smooth out more than what it kind of was. It doesn't lope or anything, but it's definitely not as smooth as I thought it would be. The other thing that was great is when you would do the block off plates, that disables all the backfiring, which once you do this tune is ungodly and just annoying. So at first it's really cool to hear all the pops, but when you have a full exhaust with no cat and you decelerate and let off the throttle, it starts popping and throwing flames like crazy. It is ear deafening. So I had to get rid of that. As cool as it was for the first couple days, pain in the ass. So that was great. It doesn't pop as much anymore, and it's just not running as lean now, which is great. I can definitely tell it's not running lean anymore. Off throttle transition. Everything else, I haven't really noticed anything crazy beyond the obvious power gains from the mid-range from 78,000 up. It just keeps pulling. Like it used to fall off around 11,500 RPM. You could definitely tell when this will fall off in power. So it would pull, and then it would kind of level off. Still fast, still ridiculously fast, but now it keeps pulling all the way to 14. It just doesn't stop. It pulls like a freight train. You're talking about a bike now with 200 horsepower with this tune. You're faster than every car. Like your power to weight ratio, just to put it in plain English, the power to weight ratio of this bike now, and any bike around this power, is faster than every car except for barring, I was gonna say a Hennessy Venom GT, but even that, I think you're way faster than this, even how light that is. Faster Bugatti, faster, Veyron, a Vitesse, anything you wanna compare it to, it has more power to weight ratio than that. The only thing that will really touch this thing is gonna be, underground racing, kind of like twin turbo, Huracan, Gallardo, GTR, something with 1,300, 1,400 plus horsepower. You're faster than this. This bike's gonna be faster than pretty much anything on the road. So beyond that, the only thing that I did notice when I had the O2s on there, which they said wouldn't hurt anything, but I found that it kind of did. I didn't reset the computer. I kind of pulled the battery because I pulled the ECU out thinking they flash it. It's going to be, it's not based on anything. I noticed when the O2 sensors were in, which shouldn't do this, right? It should have no bearing on this, but the bike died. I would pull out of the neighborhood or be coming to a stop and pull the clutch in, and the bike would die. And it was kind of nerve-wracking. It didn't do it all the time. It was just occasionally here and there, usually when it was cold. But it was super disconcerting. So I removed the O2s anyways, even though they claimed and said it shouldn't have any effect. I was thinking, like throttle transition, it would kind of clean up any too rich mixtures and kind of lean it out a little bit if it could. But yeah, I just took it off because I didn't want to deal with it. That was too scary, and worst case scenario, if something happened, I would have no power, couldn't get out of the situation. So, would I recommend this tune? Yes. If you are looking for more power and something that's going to be reliable and is cheap, this tune cost me like 215 bucks, which is a steal. Most dyno tunes are going to cost you. It varies. Some dyno tune places cost, at least for cars, and some bike places around $100 an hour. Sometimes way more, sometimes less, but usually around 100 bucks. So, and that gives you, maybe 2 hours. So most tuning, if you're going to get a good tune in, it's going to cost $300-400 bucks, honestly, to get it right. You want to make sure you get enough runs in. I'm happy with this. I know it's not running too lean. I know it's not running too rich. Just because in my riding and just the research that I've done, I'm happy with it. Longevity wise, I think it'll run way better if you didn't have a tune, because at the end of the day, if you have a bike that runs way leaner, you're going to cause nothing but problems and possible detonation. Bike just runs hotter from the get-go. But yeah, it's a great tune. For the price, you can't beat it. It's going to make the bike run a lot better. It's going to make more power. It's going to do all the things you want. The only downside, like I said, is going to be in the other video with 1,000 cc's with tunes, is the mileage is going to suffer. You're going to get terrible gas mileage, and that's to be expected. So that's kind of one of those, balancing act kind of things. But yeah, I like the tune. They're really receptive. When I called them, asked them a couple questions. You can obviously modify, if you want to disable more things, not disable things, like the radiator and the fuel cutting. You can tell them what you want, so they'll be able to do that for you. But yeah, all around great tune. Definitely recommend it. Definitely check out SuperBike Unlimited. They're a great company. Yeah, guys, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to comment down below, like this video, and subscribe. See you guys next video.